this up too, just in case you didn't hear it. I like to let people know they're being recorded as well. And I hope that doesn't make you camera shy, but I get it if it does. The first thing I'm going to do is I am going to share my screen and show you a quick little slideshow that is intended to be reminders of what we're doing and why we're doing it. And so this is course dissection. It used to be called course maps, and I can't talk about a course map without talking about everything. So, you know, it was like, was I going to call it course maps and more? But it's really a dissection. And you know, I like details, and not everybody does, but that's okay with me. We've got some regulars that come every week that are really into dissection in the way I do it. Can you see? Can everybody see? Somebody might have their mic on. So basically, I'm always coming from the angle of that there are three phases. There's three phases of a walkthrough, but it's really more than a walkthrough, sort of like what I just said about the course map. So let's just call it 3 phases of making a plan. So phase 1 is the geometry, and that's done on the course map during the walkthrough. And for me, the way I'm looking at it is that I'm learning the path and flow of the course as a course. And the longer you have done agility, the harder it will be for your brain to go where I'm asking it to go. I'm actually asking you to look at your course as a shape, a geometry, a geometrical shape that has like a drawing. If you connect the dots with a piece of pencil in the way the dog would go, which is a thing that we'll talk about. So what that means is you're not thinking about you or the dog at all. You're not thinking about turn cues. You're not thinking about sides. You're just drawing lines and looking at the different shapes and, that that course would be. And so Pam, you've got your mic on.
Okay, great question. Can you decide to add fitness at a later date, or do you have to do it up front? No, this.
You're welcome. You don't have to sign up at all. Is that the question? Okay, that might have been something else. So the basic geometry is just the line from the obstacle to the obstacle. You go from this jump to that jump, from the tunnel to the poles, and there's no wrapping of the obstacle, either from the front side or the back side, to go back onto the course. And again, this will all make sense later if it doesn't now. The advanced geometry is the one where it involves wrapping a stanchion. So you have to pick if you're going to go to the left or the right. And if it's a backside, you have to pick if you're going to go around the left one or the right one. So that's what I'm calling advanced geometry, because you do have to choose a side of the jump, which stanchion you're going to wrap, the left one or the right one. So phase 2 of this making a plan is the decisions about the sides of your body in regards to your dog and the obstacle. Is it to your advantage on this course to have your dog on your left or your right? And when does the dog versus the obstacle get to your left or your right? And then you've got to make some decisions about if your skills are strong enough or you're ready enough to try them, or if it's a skill that you have perfected or haven't in regard to your obstacle skills and your directional and your turn cues, your directional skills, your distance skills. Like you have to, at some point when you're making your plan, take your skills into consideration. And then the lanes. And those of you that come every week know that I think there's 3 things that you can do with your dog's path, with your lane. So your dog's traveling in a lane, that's a dog's path. Lanes and paths are the same to me. So you're going to be traveling too. So you're going to be either paralleling your dog's path, or you're going to be converging on the dog's path, or you're going to be peeling away from the dog's path. I think all of those 3 things should be decisions on your part. They shouldn't just be, you should know at this section, I'll be paralleling and I will plan how and when to parallel. In this point, I'm going to be converging because it is a benefit because there's something to be gotten, or I will be peeling away because I have to be. And this is of course, in direct relationship to training your skills. Phase 3 is the precision walkthrough. So the phases of the walkthrough are related to the decisions that you made on the map. So that you can't make all your decisions on the map. And I'm often pep talking in this class about embracing using your course map. There are lots of people at the trial that want to not embrace the course map, all for valid reasons. And I've heard lots and lots of them, but none of them were good enough for me to actually encourage the person to, yeah, don't use the course map. If you struggle with the course map, you're not alone. Have a friend, me, someone else, help you learn how to better utilize your course map so that you can get to this dress rehearsal part of the walkthrough faster, because all of the decisions that could be made on the course map have been made. You're not feeling gripped about the ones that couldn't be made, and that you only have to use about 3 minutes of your course walkthrough for that decision part of the plan. So that means you'd have 5 full minutes to do this start to finish dress rehearsal. When I get to do that, when my master plan, which is what I'm sharing with you right now, works and I get to have it my way, I have a much higher chance of having the run that I want to have. If I don't get to that, if I get stuck in decision land, yes, it happens. If I didn't get to the course map, if I'm running late, whatever happens to you happens to me too, then I just I lower my expectations to how the course is going to go for me when I actually run it with my dog. No big deal. And then I like to remember these 2 questions after my run. Did I create a good plan? And did I execute the plan as I had planned to execute it? And that's not, this is not a whipping post process. This is not a gloating process. This is me wanting information for myself to grow from, to be beneficial. So I'm real careful about when I ask myself the questions that I'm in the right frame of mind. If I'm gloating or pouting about the run, then it's not a good time. And I got to be honest with you guys, I spent enough years either gloating or pouting about my dog agility runs. I really don't have time for that in my ripe old age. I just want to enjoy every minute of the trial, of my friends, of the environment, of the course, of my dog. So, I ain't got time for that. So I really try to limit my pouting and my gloating. I'm not perfect. I still pout and gloat, but if I can just concentrate on the facts about my planning skills for that particular run. I mean, a lot of courses are designed that, it's like, ooh, did this judge get in my head? She loves me. Does she know me? This is like made for me. And then other times it's like, oh, this run has about 4 things that are not my specialty. So, I say all this to remind you guys, I want to share a nice outlook on the whole dang thing. Thank you very, very much for being here. I've put my website up here, and I put my my email here. If there's something you think I should know, I would love you to just email it to me. I have a YouTube channel. I record all these, and I recorded other types of lectures too, so that you guys are welcome to go check out. And I'm going to get better with the descriptions, so you watch what you want to watch. And we do Facebook a bit here and there under both Sandy Rogers and Ace. And then there's a little bit of an Instagram presence. So if you could tell a friend, there's lots of ways. If you get value from this to compensate, you could join my newsletter, which is just my email list. We send out a newsletter periodically. That would be really valuable to me. I don't look at that as unvaluable. You could tell a friend, you could post something positive, or you could pay me green money if you want. So there's lots of ways for us to exchange value. Thanks for coming. All right, now I am going to talk a little bit about, where is my cursor? I know, I can do it. There she is. Come on, come on. There you all are. I'm going to talk a little bit. I wanted to talk about SERPs. I wanted to talk about SERPing to a rear cross. I had all these things that I want to talk about, but Amy and I started a little conversation right before everybody came on, and it was something that came up in a lesson today as well. And it's a big deal for me as a teacher, and it has to do with dogs and students. And I think it's a really big deal. And I think there's a lot of dogs who aren't sensitive to what I'm about to talk about. And those are your high drive working breeds that just love work for the sake of working. But there are a lot of dogs that end up getting really burnt out on having to deal with us. So this is another thing, you guys. I've been dog training, animal training. I found a ribbon. I'm going to post it on Facebook. I found a ribbon that I earned when I was 6 years old in the competition horse ring. So I've got a lot of experience on dealing with, what is it? The agony. All I can remember is agony of defeat, the thrill of whatever, winning, whatever they used to say on Wild, wasn't Wild. Yeah. What? Oh, I'm mixing up my animal games with my sports games, but Wild World of Sports or something like that used to talk about the agony of defeat and the thrill of victory. So I have more experience with losing than some of my students. And taking ourselves too seriously and taking other things too seriously, dog training, dog responses, our own health and well-being while we're teaching our dogs, taking some of that stuff too seriously can burn us out. And I know I've got some newbies here. They're like, wait a minute, I was just loving this whole new thing. So bear with me because it's going to be useful for you too. When we're training a trick like shake a paw or roll over, you know, it's a pretty mellow mindset that we're in. We're not getting gripped about the dog getting it right or wrong. And then we shift a little bit when we're training things that are that we consider more serious, like stay or recall. Those are what I call like life lessons. And then there's agility, which starts to get a little bit more serious as lots of things, you guys, money, time, energy, expectations, peer pressure, our relationship with our dogs affects us. So all this just to say, when you screw up a numbered sequence, it is critically important for you to know if your dog just perfectly followed the cue you gave. I'm letting it sink in. If your dog just perfectly executed the cue you gave, you should be thrilled. You have to be thrilled, and you are obligated by trainer law to be thrilled. You don't get to say, yeah, but it wasn't the course. And you don't get to show the dog that you're a tiny bit disappointed and the classic one, Amy, it's classic, is whether the arm was up or down. And Pat White, you know, one of the handlers that I admire the most in the sport, is on this call. And she's got her mic off right now because she's laughing, slapping her leg, because she knows that we have trained her dog to be very responsive to whether or not her arm is up or down. And I'm always teasing her about it. And I can catch videos. That's why lately I've been on this kick about showing you guys videos of me screwing up and how I did it and what lengths I can go to. But boy, have I worked hard to notice if the dog did what I cued, because our dogs, I mean, what are they supposed to think when they do exactly what we did and we act disappointed? What are we wanting them to come away with? And how many times do we expect it not to affect them? So what are their choices? Their choices are to turn off to the game, or their choices are to not care about the cues. So you're going to a little bit of a lose-lose. So just whenever you guys, you get another chance in 2 seconds. I mean, if you're in class, whatever, and the runs are, you know, less than a minute and they're going to go good and bad. And if you're not sure, you know, like, I don't know, but your dog is trying its guts out, you can give the dog the benefit of the doubt. You don't have to give them a jackpot of food, but you can congratulate them for their effort. So a lot of times, if I'm not sure whether to reward or not, I can always take into consideration, is this dog even trying here? And I'll tell you what, that's another topic I could get on, because I'll have students that, you guys, the dogs are allowed to have bad days too. So what if we just assume that the dog always was trying its best, even if it doesn't feel like it to us? And then maybe they could assume that we're trying our best to get our cues right. So it's incentive to be a smooth, clear handler for sure. But if you've cued it and the dog did it, don't worry about the cones and the numbers. Reward the dog, because you can just go right back and put your arm down or put your arm up, and not let that dog know, have to consider for 1 second that you're not happy with him perfectly responding to it. And often it's a well-executed cue. Like when you decel and pull them off a tunnel and do a pull, it was like perfect timing. The dog was like, I can do it. I won't go in the tunnel. And you're like, yeah, but I meant the tunnel. And you show that little bit of disappointed. And I'll say to my students, well, you seem disappointed. And he's like, yeah, I didn't go in the tunnel. It's like, but you gave him a cue not to go in the tunnel. So why would you, for even the slightest bit, be disappointed? Okay. All right, I've said my piece. Thank you so much. It's a topic we can always talk about. Here is the course. I got to go to screen share. I remembered all by myself. Ta-da, ta-da, ta-da. And somebody can let me know that they see a course map. So somebody can just unmute and say, oh, you don't see it, do you?
I see it.
You do?
Yes.
Something where I kind of
I see it.
Oh, but you don't see. Oh, technology. You don't see my hand, do you, on the course map? Okay, we're bringing Elmo on board. You guys know he takes a second. My job is to not touch buttons right now. And then hopefully you're going to see my hand on a course map. Ah, do you?
Yes.
Okay,
Yes.
cool. Okay, so let's talk about the course. This was Ken Boyd, and it was a few weeks ago at Hangtown. And we've got 1 to 2. So, I mean, you could set your dog in a weird way on 1 to make that entry harder or easier than it needed to be. So that was something to think about. This was scary a little bit for me, and I'll tell you why. So the dog is going to exit like this, and then he's gonna come around and take this jump like this. This is a premier jumpers. So those of you that are newbies, I've lied a little bit when I said I should have had it. I will next week, I promise, have a novice class. This is the highest, hardest level. So this is, there's novice, open, master's excellent, and then this. So please don't be panicking on me. So the dog is going to take this jump like this. So there is a turn to 4. And a lot of people, when they're drawing on their course map, you guys, they just go like that. And they think 3 to 4 is a straight line. So this is just something you got to learn. And then we were going, I sure hope. Oh no, I've got the wrong map for the run I have queued up. Well, we're going to go with it. This is the run that I really wish I had a video of. I know, I'm going to do this map and then I'm going to show you a video and all will be good because I can tell you what happened here and really entertain you all. I really wish I had this because boy, did I have some trouble here. Now you guys know that I've shown you beautiful runs that Tux and I have done. So I don't want you thinking, why am I taking lessons from this lady that screws up so much? So the dog's going to take that jump that way. So you can see that there's a turn there. And then the dog is going to take 8 that way. So you can see that there's a turn here. And then you can see that there's a lane change here, turn. And then this got really fun. So that's straight. So I've got to tell the dog to go straight there. And this is what configuration, somebody? 11, 12 to 13.
Sir.
Thank you. And then this goes 18 here again. And then I think that Ken at the last minute made 19 what's called bi-directional. He did. He did. And sometimes that happens. Sometimes the competitors will squeak a little bit. That's one cool thing about competing. You can say to the judge, in so many words or less, did you really mean that? Or could you change it? And ain't no harm in done in asking. So the dog would actually take this jump like this. So then they come back here and they go here. All right. So that is the dog's path. And let's see if there's any, that's how I saw that path as I looked at it the first time. So this is basic geometry. And everywhere 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16. Okay, so I see 17 as the first advanced geometry, where you could go this way or this way. That's what I call advanced geometry. And that's the only, and then 19, you could go this way, or you could go that way, or you could go 1, 2, 3. So those were the 3 options that you could take 19. Questions about the course? No? So here's what happened to me. And actually the run that you're going to get to see this is what confused me a little bit when I was looking for the course map, is the jump is a little, this number 3 is over here, but you still had to do, it would work best to do a front cross between 3 and 4. Where does the front cross go? I always try to put my front cross on the diagonal, and that would be the diagonal in this case. So this is a giant 180 here. This is a giant 180, and you have to have some skills trained to have that so I wouldn't want to pass pole 11, keep my hand up to get that front cross done. You could also stay on this side, tuck in here, and rear cross 4 and rear cross 5, and lots of people did that. So this is a case, and the front cross had risk. If you traveled, if you let out in this lane, I've got extra pages, so if you traveled in this lane real close to this jump here, you could stay parallel till your dog had, till his nose had 11, and then travel a little bit this way to promote paralleling that path. Because all you need to do is get the dog over that refusal line and then head to get on your diagonal as soon as possible. So that would work. If your dog would, if you could decel or plan your rate of speed to be here as your dog was finishing the poles, if you have pat white weave poles, which means your dog will stay in the poles no matter what, and weaving to nothing is a thing, because there's no candy out here chatting to the dog. There's no obstacles saying, I'm next, stay in the poles. The dog knows full well you're gonna go this way. So there are lots of handlers that could, their dogs would go finish the poles on their own, so the handler could run in this lane, parallel this path a little longer, and even be closer to 4. They might even, if they had an independent 270 and independent poles, be able to get another side change here. So this is so on your course map, you would know right now, my dog's not gonna stay, I'm not gonna be over there. And if I do a lateral motion cue, my dog isn't gonna stay up because I haven't trained 270s like this from the poles to a jump, a 180, I mean. So you guys, this is the poles 2 to 3 is a 180 configuration. And this is classic crossing a box handling. If we're gonna talk about, we talk about configurations a lot in this class. So I decided to do the front cross, and the 2 courses are the same up to that point that you'll see the video of. And I reared, so I tucked right in, I did my front straight into a rear cross pull, stayed on takeoff side of 4, Tux came over 4. I told him right tunnel, which is his favorite thing in the whole wide world, to hear tunnel after anything. So he's happy to do the first thing because he gets the dessert of the tunnel. And this is the part that made me mad. I did not like my choices on handling because I was going to be around this area as Tux went into the tunnel. And I don't like doing turns on the flat. And what that means is, for those of you that have watched or were there for my 4 quadrants, if I'm in this quadrant of 7, there's the quadrants, 1, 2, 3, 4. If I'm in this quadrant of 7, I want Tux to think that it's one of those obstacles. If I'm in this quadrant of 7, I want him to think it's one of these, blah, 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 blah. So I knew that if I hung out in this quadrant or this quadrant as he was doing 7, that he would be sure it was the weave poles. And I like that about Tux. That's a good thing. That's an asset. So I didn't want to run up here, even though I knew I could tell him right, and I would be way over here then. So a couple of people that had this fancy business, that had the Pat White weaves and the independent 270, got up here, did this side change between 4 and 5, and then also got a side change in and did 7 on their left. So I know that some of you are not with me anymore, and it's okay. You can go back and replay it because it's fun. Just, I'm giving you the key elements here between training and handling, and that's my mission. Because to have the dog on your left through here was wonderful, because what configuration is 7, 8, 9?
Pinwheel.
Good, good. Who wants to be on this side of the damn pinwheel when it's go? Nobody. Nobody. Thank you. So I wanted to tuck in here and rear cross 7, even though this was a stretch, and it's what do I call this jump? Lone jump on the prairie. If it had been a wingless, I would have been even scareder. Whatever jump is in a corner, you guys, the dogs, unless it's a tunnel, have reason to not want to, like, why go out there? So to do and this is kind of tight and this is kind of long. So I planned it to do the rear, but I knew I might be in trouble. And I ended up too far to do a proper rear. Tux did look at the poles. I told him right, and he went right over 8. He was just like, I don't know why you're worried. It's not the end of the world if you're not in the white quadrant every time, mama. And then I ran around here and forgot what I was doing. I ended up on this side of the tunnel. And at that point, I screamed shit, which is illegal, and you're supposed to be kicked out of the ring. But in those cases, professional advice is don't make eye contact with the judge. Just wait for the whistle. So now I'm running on the outside, but you know what, you guys, my dog knows go on, and he knows left and right. So as soon as because I needed to be over here, I hope everybody can see that. And I kicked it into high gear. I started saying, go on. I was panicking inside, but I kept my eyes on the information zone for 11 and got right out of my mouth, which put him in the lane when he turned right for 12. I told him go. I'm way the hell back here now. I said left. And all I had to do then was say go on, which was kind of ended up working because now I was standing still for this backside here. And I cued the backside. I did a rear on 12 and started to move, and Tux thought I was telling him to go this way because I didn't decel enough on 18. I started to move. He went, cool, she means the tunnel. And he made it to here when I just started to scream. I wasn't even saying his name or come or anything. I was just screaming. And he went, oh, geez, she must want me. And he stayed on course. And I got a cue. And that's what you call a dirty cue. But you guys, the moral of the story here is I wanted to stay true to my system of communication. And I take it really, really serious. So when I can't be in the correct quadrant, the moral of the story is this is how far I will go to stay true to my cueing system. And if I had just embraced that in the first place and said, I'm not going to flip him on the flat. I'm not going to say to him the whole time he's doing 7 that it's the poles, and then surprise him and have the disadvantage of still being in here, that I will just make the not so easy rear cross work. I probably wouldn't have had all that negative brain juice that then made me forget what I was doing. And I hope that's helpful. I don't know that it is. Any questions about what I'm sharing with you or why? It was a learning experience for me, and maybe it happens to you, and maybe you can say, I see the value in that. And I see the value in not, so what did I do wrong? Was it my plan or my execution? That's what I said in the slideshow. It was my plan. I didn't marry this decision. And I kept all my time thinking, I don't want to do that. I don't want to do that. That's not in my blah, 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 system of communication and nah, 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 nah. I didn't marry this rear cross strong enough to remember that I needed to stay in this lane. This is like changing plates at the buffet, right? You guys, because I stayed in decision too long about what to do here on the map and in real life, I did not marry making this rear cross. And what I needed to do for my lane decision was to stay on takeoff side of 8. That's what I would have told myself if I had gotten out of phase 2 sooner and been in phase 3 and told myself, you can't pass 8. I never said that to myself because I was saying all this other waste of time crap. If I had said to myself, as you do your rear, don't pass the refusal line of 8, I would have been in the correct lane. But I had not planned my lane for this pinwheel. You guys that train with me know that I always have a side preference for 180s and pinwheels. I just got in here and reared, was in Never Never Land, and ended up running badly, wrongly. Let that be a lesson to you. Now I'll show you a video that's not of this run. Darn it, darn it, darn it, darn it. We're gonna have Elmo go goodbye, and that takes just a second. And we'll get rid of that. So this course is similar. So I apologize, but there's still some stuff I want you to learn from it. So those of you that are new, we normally look at the video of the course we just analyzed. And I need to get out of there. Okay. Can you see video now?
Yes.
Thank you. I'm going to play it at normal speed and then go back over it. I got fooled because it was jump poles when I watched, although that was 2 jumps to the poles, but it's still that 180 was actually easier there. He popped out. I'll point some things out about how I handled that and why. And there's a bar down there too. Wow, you're thinking, why would she show us that? Because I want you to buy my programs. You guys, I really want to share again, and maybe next week we'll have, I just feel like I can teach better with what goes wrong than maybe what goes right. So, you guys have heard this a million times, so I'm sorry, but Tux and I do have a deal about weave pole training that he and I have cut a deal with how much maintenance he gets in real life during the week in order for me to 100% be guaranteed successful performance. He has not gotten his maintenance since COVID, really. I've gotten any polls that you've seen him do brilliantly since COVID were a gift because I have not held up my end of the bargain. So him weaving to nothing, I was right where I wanted to be. I wanted to be at hip. And then you can see that there may have been a weight shift back. It doesn't matter. he should stay in the poles. So that's training versus handling. That little weight shift back might have pulled him out, but it shouldn't have. I had planned to not go past pole 11. The thing I want you to see is the way I go back to fix him. So right there, there's a pause. I'm not rushing to fix. I'm making a point to him. Oops, pal, that is indeed an error. If I had rushed back to those poles, see, I'm not building adrenaline and I'm not scolding. I'm just saying, let's try that again. And I'm also, more importantly, not handling it differently. I had a strong chance that he might have made the same mistake, but I'm showing him we can do this. I did not go further ahead. I did not go closer to the poles. All of that was okay. He did knock that bar. I yelled, go tunnel. That was just, he didn't jump high enough. So this was one place where some folks had some trouble getting this turn. I was planted. I've got nice focus. My arms are doing what I want. And I did want to have my feet pointing that way as he exited, because I'm going to do a sharp pull cue to get that, to set that new line. And I'm telling him go on tunnel. So I'm not cueing the triple as jump, because if I gave him a generic and I'm behind the jump, he should think he might be being called back. So his go on for the tunnel, the go on that he got on is information zone for the triple, which buys me the tunnel by the way he takes. So when he takes the triple, even though I'm behind, so this is information zone. He's being told, go on, go on. So he knows to take the triple in extension. Now, can you see the blue wingless jump that's next? So that obvious one right in front, that is a major trap. So Tux can see the blue jump now. No, not watch the tunnel move. He can see the blue jump now. So he cannot see me or the on-course obstacle before he sees an off-course obstacle. I hope that you all take that into consideration, that what does the dog see first? You, is that a good thing or a bad thing? An off-course obstacle, is that a good thing or a bad thing? It's always a bad thing. And what will you have to do? So I am saying his name. And in this case, if he looks for me, which is what his name means, he'll find it. But look at how close. And I don't know if you heard me, but I really yelled again, because right there, it looks like he could still take that blue jump. So look how outstretched my arm is. And that was definitely planned to be that far away from the jump. A lot of people ran in here, you guys, because they were either afraid of the dog shooting out and stealing this jump, or their hard calling, making them come around the green, which both things happened. So I wanted to do everything I could to make sure he would know it was the green jump. And he really didn't. But look how close he is to that blue jump. I'm defending my yell. Now I want to tell, it's 6:46. I have you for 15 minutes. And I'm going to get to tell you a very important story, because you just watched Tux not take that jump the way I wanted 3 times. So you guys, because this course, I love Ken Boyd. He's a brilliant course designer. He is a competitor in all venues, or was back in the day. And what Ken did is he had us do all these shooting across the courses to tunnels. Go on tunnel, go on tunnel, go on tunnel. And it wasn't just this course he did it on. So I knew full well, as Tux turned to take the purple jump, where you see him right now, that his little Christmas hopes were all on hearing go on tunnel, go on tunnel. And I wanted a nice tight, and it was 2 tunnels. So he's in line for this entrance. And then, once you tell him it's not that one, he could have gone straight that way and gotten that one. And once I said, no, come to this jump. Okay, mama, it's for sure this end. So what I did, because I'm so smart, is I went over to the practice jump. and I practiced him wrapping the stanchion on the practice jump right to the point of confusion. So I was experimenting with my distance and my turn cue, and he did it perfectly, I don't know, 3 or 4 times. And instead of leaving well enough alone, I kept practicing it. So I might have done that turn 6 or 7 times on the practice jump. So then he started struggling on the practice jump. He started going, well, you must not want the jump. So and I do, this is another thing, I have been training, come in, throttle the jump and take the backside. So I took a well-trained dog, confused him just enough on the practice jump that he thought he was prepared for it. Now you could say, and there's people in this room right now, hold on, let me cue this up. You guys, so one thing is, be careful the message you give on the practice jump. I often use the practice jump to practice the key element that I'm most concerned of on that course. You could say that I'm turning too soon here. And the fact that I didn't change the timing with each attempt, you could say, well, clearly if the dog isn't taking the jump, she's turning too soon. And if somebody analyzed this run that didn't know what I had done on the practice jump and didn't know what I did that week in training, they could say I was handling badly or making a mistake in the handling. But that timing of that rotation is what Tux and I do all the time. It was the learning history. And when we talk about training, I talked about this on a run once before in one of these classes. When we're figuring out what went wrong, the 2 questions after the run, was it the plan or was it the execution? Part of that can be the execution based on the learning history. This is all designed for you to approach your training and your competing by giving your dog a break, the benefit of the doubt. You know, he was absolutely convinced with all that stuff I did on that practice jump that it wasn't the obvious simple thing, because well, it must not be that she's making such a big deal of it. So I blew his little mind is what I did, because that timing is our timing. And I have to have confidence when I say that. Yeah, it brought, he goofed. So he thought that I was just doing my front cross. What else? Can anybody else come on? I'm going to take a drink of water. Can anybody else come on and tell us what in my core basic system of communication didn't work in this scenario? So I talk often when I work with you guys about like the Holy Grail rules. And there's one that comes to mind that makes this, and I'll help you. So if I say everything is 1 before, and we're talking about the white jump, am I cueing the white jump now? Yes or no? You guys can all unmute if you want. Is the white jump being cued?
Yes,
How? Why?
you're moving toward it.
And
You're not telling him not to.
that's a good one, Pat. Lane and line are set. So right now I'm purchasing the white jump unless I say something different. Not that that doesn't happen, you guys. There are lots of times when we are setting the line to an off course, and we had better know it, because we're going to have to, our handling will have to say, sorry, pal, my lane and my line are a lie. So am I still cueing the white jump?
Well, I can't hear you, but physically it looks like you are.
Lane and line are still cueing the white jump. Still?
Yes.
Still?
Yes. Now you're rotating. No.
I disagree.
Yeah, I think yes.
So this is the question for you and your personal dog. Because does anybody know what the core basic foundation thing that I want somebody to say is? The thing, you guys, when I'm making decisions on course, I have things that I fall back on, like that quadrants, like, what is my truth to my dog? What's the deal that I cut with the dog that I say, pal, it will
Take it because it's in front of you.
Huh?
Take it because it's in front of you.
Okay, you got it, Pat, but that's your language. Can somebody run with that on what my language is?
When in doubt, take the jump.
When in doubt, take the jump. When in doubt, take the jump. So you guys, that's why I get away with less than perfect timing. And that's why I do what some people would call early rotations. I know that there's somebody out here in the agility world right now that wants to argue with me that I rotated too early on that jump. And I know that they would say that the fact that I did it 3 times in a row and still couldn't get him to take the jump, that I turned too early, but I didn't. And this is where I want you to be, to where you can say the timing, when I've got a line and a lane set, the timing of my turn cue will be in the information zone. And that is the information zone. And I can't change that. And that's why when my students, I can't change it for his sake. I can't start saying, you can't rely on me giving, just because he got mixed up because of what I did on the practice jump and what I'd been working on, doesn't mean that I have to start changing everything. And I see my students when we're working together, if the dog has 1 or 2 questions, they think that they should change core things. So, boy, I hope that resonates with you, because you can see how easy it was. Tux would not have thought that I was saying it might not be that jump if I hadn't done what I did on the practice jump. So now what I'm going to do is, so you can see I'm like, oh, that's my fault. And I'm talking sweetly to him, but now I'm going to show him, and I'm not going to change the timing, and I'm not going to change and he goes, okay, she's making it. Oh, it's the backside, Mama, not the front cross. Bless his heart, right? And then he goes, not the backside, it's not the front. So you guys, I love it that some of you still want to argue that the timing was wrong, but if I can convince you that it wasn't, and the beauty of video, I'm going to stop screen sharing and I'm going to invite you in for conversation. I sure hope that was valuable to you. Questions, comments, what made sense? What didn't make sense? Where is the yeah, but, or how do you know if? Where are those? What do you got for me? Come on in. Caden, what are you thinking? Was that a waste of time? You got to unmute. Can't hear you.
Sandy?
Yeah. Suzanne.
There we go. Okay.
Okay, hold on, Suzanne.
Oh no, it wasn't a waste of time. I love watching it. I learn a lot more from a non-perfect run than a perfect run.
Good.
So I enjoyed watching it and hearing you analyze it, because it was just good. Good. Sometimes I get a little out there and have to worry that I think there's more value from the non-perfect runs too. And I am so thank you for that. Suzanne, did you have a question?
I have a question. I can take it at face value that your cue was at the right time.
Mm-hmm.
However, my question is it the right time for your dog because that's what you've trained, or is it always the right time in the same place for a different dog?
The information zone. So when I have moved away from the terminology of when the dog is committed. So we used to say that the dog gets cues when he's committed to the jump. Well, that insinuates that
handlers can make judgment calls on the fly, and I handle with a firm plan. So the information zone on every obstacle is as early as it can be, and it varies from obstacle to obstacle, sequence to sequence. So the information zone, I wish it could just be that you and I could figure out that the information zone for your dogs is 12 feet and the information zone for Quilly Bear would have been 2 feet and the information zone, but it isn't, because it's based on momentum and course design turns. So, and sometimes it's like when the dog's nose is at the refusal line, I can start yelling, go tunnel. So that would be the information zone might be 30 feet back. So dogs,
Okay, so my
I know,
question,
just give me one more second. So the dogs
Okay.
do get used to having late cues. And if you give them a cue at a time they're not used to getting, I think this is the answer, and I'll shut up in just a second, then it won't work. So you can train your dog to only respond to late cues by giving late cues all the time. And this is the problem when people try to improve their timing. When I have a student that comes to me and I say, all your bar knocking, all your frustration, all your demotivation is based on the timing of your cues, and we change when we're going to give the dog the information, it usually goes badly for a while because the dog is thrown for a loop about when they're going to get the information. Most people, you guys, here's the news flash. Every single time you scream at your dog after landing, they either got information late, information they didn't understand, or both. Every single time you have to yell, here or come. I call those recalls on landing. Suzanne, did that answer the question?
okay, so,
Yeah.
well, so my question was more about training than, because the information zone, you say it's as early as possible, which to me implies that you would keep wanting it to be earlier and earlier until you felt that there was no benefit to being any earlier.
Correct. When there's no
Okay,
benefit
so-
when being earlier would mean something else and should mean something else,
Right.
and you're happy that it means something else. Yep, exactly.
Yes.
So when I'm doing
my question
repetition
is-
training, so when I'm doing repetition training, which on YouTube, there's a lecture about that. I do a lot of repetition training. I'm going, what will you think if I give it earlier? What will you think if I give it earlier? And in feet first, I'm showing that I have my turn cue done before the dog landed. And then I read an article by, oh crap, I can't remember her name. And when she said she wants her turn cue completed a full stride before the obstacle before. And I went, oh, I'll do that too.
Well, so my question is about when you're training your dog. So when you're doing your repetition training and you're getting earlier and earlier, if your dog, your dog is doing it and then you get earlier and then your dog asks a question, they don't read it the way you meant it. What do you do to train it? Because it came up today when I do Pat's class, I always try and do things that I would never at this point do in a trial, because that's the only way I'm going to learn. So I was in a position Jesse'd never seen before. She was at a distance from a tunnel that I never would have left her when I was in that position. And the first time she had no idea and she came to me. And, Pat suggested what I do. I went and did it, went right back to exactly the same place, gave her the cue, and she did it perfectly. But I don't necessarily think about what is cueing and what was already trained, and how you train your dog to recognize that cue, because you do things so methodically, but I don't necessarily know how you trained it. I know what you're doing now, but I don't know how you got to that point.
If you're talking about turn cues on approach, is that what you're talking about?
It could be any type of cue that you've trained your dog that is early. I mean, like, just like you said, typically people give cues late.
Right.
So when you're starting a dog
Let's talk about,
and you want them to recognize the cue early, how do you
Yes.
start teaching
it's in the BAM
dog that
program.
doesn't know anything?
That's what BAM is. So all of you guys that have puppies, buy BAM. The next version is coming out in August, because in the BAM program where we're teaching wrap around a garbage can, wrap around a stanchion, we're teaching those dogs that once we've cued you to do it, don't care what we do after. So we're teaching the dogs obstacle. All we're talking about right now, if we're talking about turn cues on approach, which is the easiest one to talk about, is obstacle focus versus handler focus. So when you turn and run the other direction, your dog has to know, oh, do I turn and go with? They seem to like that when I do that a lot. Or do I keep going and pick up this thing? Because sometimes they get really pissed off when I do that. So for one thing, you hold it as holy grail, that if I've cued it, that's why in that thing, I'm like, am I cueing it now? That if I've cued it and I don't tell you not to take it, when in doubt, take the jump. I always go back to that. So when I do cues, you guys, here's the drum roll. It's 4 after 7. So if anybody has to leave, I understand. But if you can hang in for this punchline, here's the thing. In this, we train refusals by throwing parties when our dogs pick up the cue that we gave that we didn't actually want them to do. This is the perfect last bit for what I was talking about when we started the meeting. This is the perfect antidote to that, because we train in refusal. So here, imagine this. Your dog is running at the jump. He's been giving you crappy wide turns. You've been working hard on tight turns. You give your turn cue and it pulls the dog off the jump. 9 out of 10 people throw a party. Yay, you picked up my turn cue. Good for you. You didn't ignore me. You didn't steal the tunnel. So the dog goes note to self. When in doubt, don't take the jump. So when I give the cue when I want to, and it causes the dog a question, wait a minute, do I turn? She gave a turn cue. Or do I take the jump and then turn? I thought she wanted me to turn right away, but this looks like she wants me to take 2 strides and then turn, or 1 stride and then turn. How am I supposed to know? If you throw a party, and this is the other thing, is people will take mediocre turns for granted, and then they get decent turns and they don't reward them. So so when I give a turn cue, like that one in that competition, that confuses my dog, for one thing, I don't rotate back. I stay the way I am and I say, oh, you forgot the jump. Yes, I do mean for you to take it. Even, yeah, I'm going this way. Yeah, you're gonna, I've already told you to take it. So that's obstacle commitment. If you watch European handlers, they can leave, dogs halfway to the jump and they can leave and run as fast as they want the other direction, because they've balanced that. The dog, when in doubt, take the jump. So don't train refusals. Just have the party 1 second later. Get the dog over the jump without turning the original old way. Say, no, you can take it with me. This is worth the price of admission today. No, take it that way and then have your party. But never throw a party for a refusal. That's the takeaway. So I teach. So the answer to everything is, when my dog doesn't understand, what do you do when your dog doesn't understand? I teach. And I don't change the cue, and I don't change the timing. I decided what I need the timing to be. If I can't tell you what to do when you're here, I'm not going to make the next move. I have to be able to tell you, do the jump and then go left. Pam, you have a question?
I'm sorry, I hit the wrong button, but I just wanted to say, it seems to me about what I saw with you and Tux was that you have a really good close connection with and communication. So even though everything didn't go quite right, he trusted you in what you were asking him to do. And he didn't worry about it. Okay, so we're not going to go there. I'll go here. He was
like,
very honest about that.
and the thing of it is, and I don't know, maybe I am bragging. I don't know, you guys, it's irrelevant, but I take great pride in being able to see that he went, oh, late front cross. Like that's never happened to him before, right? And he's like, I can save it, mama. And then he said, oh, not the front cross, the backside. I'll try that. And my heart feels joyous that I have this beast willing to try so hard for me. And it's hurtful when I see handlers leave the ring mad, like really you can't get out your ass over that jump. And they're upset that the dog, Tux was trying harder to make that whole thing harder. He was trying harder, not less.
But he trusted you. And even though he thought maybe you made a mistake, he goes, oh, okay, go. I'm going to go here then. Oh, okay. And he didn't really worry about it. He just kind of went and did it, which was, and your positioning was relaxed and confident, and we're just going to do it. So that you didn't worry, and he didn't worry. And that was something I need to know.
And Pam, I'll tell you one other little bit, true, I got to be honest here, is if I've watched that video a few more times than you have, and at the very, very, very last bit of that mess, he did stop. He did get a little bit like, oh, now I really don't know what you want. And that's when I said, don't worry, pal. And as soon as I let him, he did put himself on the hook for a second. And maybe it is what you're seeing, that I said, no problem. And as he was coming over those last two jumps, I was working really hard to say, atta boy, I love how hard you try. I love running with you. And then I was really babying him up. So being able, that's our obligation, is to being able to shift from, this isn't going exactly right, to there's no hard feelings. So, but he did at the very end go, you know what, lady, I'm just going to stand here for a second because I don't know what the hell you want, which is fair.
Well, the one thing is that, that might be the run, might be his last. And therefore he wanted to go where you guys are talking and thinking about it.
Yeah, I like thinking that way too. All right, ladies and gentlemen, it's 10 after. I'm happy to stay if anybody has any additional concerns. You can email me privately if you'd like to see these be different in some way. Tell a friend if you like it. Anything you want to do to exchange value would be wonderful. Thanks for coming.